Urban Meyer's first question to Jags owner Shad Khan was, how do we pay the players without the league finding out? Urban, you don't have to worry about that anymore. You're in the pros. Welcome to That's Good Sports. I'm Brandon. If you can get a recommendation letter from Richard Sherman, you can get any job you desire, Perna. I'm not kidding. I think Richard Sherman's ringing endorsement of Robert Saleh earlier this season helped propel Saleh to the #1 choice to fill most head coaching vacancies. Sherman said he deserved an unusual amount of credit for the 49ers' defensive success.
Abundance of credit. You have to give him an unusual amount of credit, and I don't think he's getting enough credit not only here but in the league in general. You know, he's not making any excuses. He's making great plans week in and week out, and we're making it happen. And I think, you know, I expect him to be a head coach next year because of what he's able to do. You know, he's able to rally men. You know, he's a leader of men, and that goes a long way.
And if you know how rare it is for Richard Sherman to give a compliment, then that speaks volumes.
Don't try the best corner in the league in the front, especially with a mediocre receiver like Crabtree. He's weak.
We're in that rare football scenario this week where I think everyone got the right guy. Robert Saleh was the best candidate available and the best fit for the Jets. The only place for Urban Meyer was in Jacksonville, and the Falcons get the third best option, and nobody desires to coach in Detroit, LA, or Houston. So today we'll talk Jags, Jets, and a splash of Falcons with these coaching hires. It's good sports. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel. I do football videos here all the time. It's NFL news mixed with dumb jokes. And I do have Patreon shoutouts at the end of today's episode. A shit ton of you did subscribe on Patreon because I said if I get 500 new patrons by the end of January, I will live stream my wife giving me a mullet. And a lot of you want to see me look amazing. Also, at the end of the month, for all $10 and plus patrons, we will do our live Zoom conference call. That's coming up, so keep your eyes out. Patreon.com/thatsgoodsports if you want to see me get a mullet. Let us begin with Saleh, who is literally the strongest coaching hire. You can outbench most players, I think. Again, I love this hiring for the Jets. Robert Saleh is the kind of guy that when he masturbates, he uses every muscle in his body. Nothing goes to waste. Literally, the only knock I've heard about Saleh is that he has been given the label leader of men.
You know, he's a leader of men.
Which I'm sure you think on the surface sounds great, but I'm a Broncos fan who was sold on the idea that Vance Joseph was a leader of men. So when I hear that phrase, I think about a guy who is not great in one football area. Just once, I want a coach to be described as a winner of games. Now, I do not believe Saleh is Vance Joseph. I think he is legitimately a great defensive coach. I think he did the most important thing an NFL coach can do this last season. He adapted every week to injuries, to key players on his defense, and he got more from players than you would expect. Last season, you could have argued that Saleh benefited from coaching a stacked defense in San Fran. This year, there's no denying that he coached his arse off to get the most out of a depleted defense. 7th against the run, 4th against the pass, and they were the only team who could compete with the Broncos on the mass injury scale. Now, Robert Saleh and his wife are about to have their 7th child. So if Phillip Rivers is going to get one more season in the NFL, it just might be with the Jets. Saleh's NFL coaching career began as an intern with the Texans defense in 2005. Saleh does face an uphill battle in New York in terms of putting together a winning team. Having Jamal Adams would have been a nice piece for that defense that just needs a little TLC, but Quinnen Williams and Marcus May are also nice pieces to work with. That said, Saleh, paired with Joe Douglas, now has the chance to get a lot of quality roster help quickly. Who knows what the Jets will do with the 2nd pick in the draft? The thing nobody mentions, though, is that the Jets have 6 picks in the top 98. 2 firsts, a second, 2 thirds, and a fourth at 98. They also have $60 million in cap space, third most in the league. Douglas and Saleh have all of the tools to make their vision a reality, and maybe even more ammo than I just mentioned if they say trade Sam Darnold or trade out of the second pick if they stick with Darnold. Saleh also may have already made the most important decision as a head coach. The Jets are expected to hire Matt LeFleur's little brother, Mike, who has been the passing game coordinator for the 49ers. He's a 33-year-old OC whose brother has had great success with the Packers, and he also learned from the best in Kyle Shanahan, which might be the easiest way to turn Sam Darnold into a top-tier quarterback this season. The Jets have upgraded their coaching staff immeasurably with these 2 first moves, which we will be able to actually measure when the Jets finish just ahead of the last place Patriots next January in the AFC East. The first thing Urban Meyer needs to do is change his racially insensitive first name. The fashion industry is moving away from the word, and the music industry as well, and it's time for Mr. Meyer to do the same. In his presser, Suburban Meyer was asked if having the first pick in the draft played a key role in him taking the job with the Jags. His response? Are you fucking stupid? Of course it did. I get to play God with an entire franchise, you idiots. Now bow down to me and my first pick. Now I know very little about college football, but I do know a decent amount about Urban Meyer. That alone makes me believe this is a good hire for the Jags. Jacksonville is in the deep South. And in the South, college football is king. So getting one of the best college football coaches from the past 15 to 20 years is at the very least going to bring more eyeballs to the Jags and their new quarterback. Urban Meyer's 2 national championships for the Gators bodes well for Duval, both the county and Robert. Here's a map of Florida. Here's Gainesville, where the University of Florida is located. And here is Jacksonville, just to the east. My guess is there's a lot of overlap between Gators fans and Jags fans, and they're most likely jagging off to this news. I must say, Urban Meyer may have been a better fit for the Chiefs, though, at least with his willingness to look the other way when his employees commit domestic violence. But the Chiefs have a head coach. Will Suburban Meyer help the Jags win more games? That is the question, and a guess at this point, but 1 in 15 is an extremely low bar. Suburban might be very well equipped to build an offense that fits the strengths of Trevor Lawrence, and that would be very nice for the Jags. But I'm a little skeptical that someone who's been coaching in college his whole career can adjust to the NFL quickly. Seriously, he's never played or coached in the NFL at any point in his life as an assistant or otherwise. The last guy who succeeded with no NFL experience was Jimmy Johnson. Before him, Don Coryell in the 70s. Which actually means it might be time for another success story. Now that doesn't mean that Urban Meyer can't figure it out, but there's probably going to be a learning curve from college to pro, especially taking over a 1 in 15 team, no matter how much talent they have and will acquire this offseason. That said, he will have 11 picks to work with and the most cap space in the league, and whatever they can net by moving Gardner Minshew. That's $10 million more than the Colts, the team with the second most cap space, which is what happens when you trade and release just about everyone that helped get your team to the AFC Championship a few years ago. Suburban will be working with Trent Baalke, former 49ers GM, who the Jags just hired to replace Dave Caldwell. I think one of the benefits of pairing Baalke and Urban Meyer is that Baalke was the GM when the 49ers hired Jim Harbaugh, so he's familiar with a college coach making the jump to the NFL. Only this one's not gonna call him a pussy, take his shirt off at practice, and smear his own shit all over the walls. Now I'm gonna ask the question everyone else is afraid to. Will Urban Meyer be able to lure Tim Tebow out of baseball? If that doesn't work, he still does have the #1 overall pick to use, and most people expect that he'll be taking Trevor Lawrence out of Clemson. Although, keep in mind, he did recruit Justin Fields when he was coming out of high school. Although, when Urban Meyer was on Fox, he did rank Lawrence ahead of Fields before this season started, and I'm not sure anything would have changed that ranking, even though Fields did outplay Lawrence in the playoffs. You know who they didn't outplay? Gardner Minshew, who deserves a shot with the real head coach. R.I.P. Minshew Mania. The Jags are going into 2021 with an offense that has the #1 overall pick, probably the best quarterback prospect since Andrew Luck, a 1,000-yard rusher in James Robinson, and 2 good options at wide receiver between DJ Chark and Laviska Shenault. So, maybe the Jags offense is good right away. Now, Titans offensive coordinator Arthur Smith is expected to take the head coaching job in Atlanta. Falcons team owner Arthur Blank said it will be nice to have an Arthur on the roster with a last name. Something I've always dreamed of. Arthur Blank. That's my favorite joke of the year, and you better appreciate it. Arthur Smith's first question, though, was, okay, can you show me where my Derrick Henry is, please? Sorry, Arthur, running the football is something the Falcons haven't been able to do since Kyle Shanahan was there. Falcons interim head coach Raheem Morris is now expected to interview with the Jags for their defensive coordinator job. He's probably Urban Meyer's #1 choice. So the Jets got their man, the Jags got their man, the Falcons got their man, and the Lions, Chargers, and Texans will get whatever's left over. And here you are, your big dick Patreon shoutouts for you mullet lovers. Kyle Orton upping to $10. The famous Blue Ridge Mountain Plumbing now at $175 per month. The best plumbing in Central Virginia. If you clog your toilet, you call them. Daniel, the Chiefs have beaten the Broncos 11 times in a row. Bristol Barnes, thanks for the reminder. Luke, Hellsuit. Happy anniversary, Rashana. It's not too late to dump those loser Seahawks and get on the Bronco bandwagon. Jonathan Bayard, Denver Christofferson, Tyler Baldwin, Scott Benedict, Zach Allen Stanland, Rain Targaryen, Med 501 Street, Mike Hoffman, Lewis McDermott, Ryan. Just Ryan. Patrick Mahomes makes my Dixie wrecked. Alexander Kuna, Ryan Anderson, Sean Duncan, Nick Koch, and Quinn Riley. Thank you guys so much for your donations. Patreon.com/thatsgoodsports if you want to see that mullet. Thanks for watching here on YouTube. Subscribe. Click the video on the screen if you want to watch more of my BS videos. That's all you gotta do. It's free and it is nice.